Back by popular demand. It's Just Saying with Mark.
And Fallon.
Here for you with another movie review from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's right. The Incredible Hulk. The black sheep, if you will, of the Marvel Universe.
The Ed Norton version.
Correct.
Yay!
It is the only film with that for the Hulk, but not to be confused with the movie Hulk with Eric Bana. But yes, this is The Incredible Hulk starring Ed Norton.
Well, I meant before Mark Ruffalo. The current Hulk.
The current Hulk, yes. So this was the second release in 2008. Marvel rolled the dice, released Iron Man, and about a month or two later came The Incredible Hulk. And due to the success of Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk was quickly incorporated as a follow-up. As you could see with the opening credits, with the computer-generated imagery, Stark Industries all over the place with the military stuff. There's another big tie-in which we'll get to later, but this was clearly set to follow or take place after Iron Man, being only the second movie at the time of the Marvel Universe. And this starred Ed Norton, Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, and William Hurt as the General. So I know going into it, I grew up on the Incredible Hulk TV show from the 70s and 80s, especially with all the TV movies with Bill Bixby. So I was always a Hulk fan. He was probably one of my favorite Marvel characters growing up. I enjoyed the Hulk movie in 2003. I wasn't in love with it, but I did enjoy it. But I was still very excited for this one coming up, just because it was another Hulk movie.
I never saw the first Hulk movie, so this was the first one that I saw. He was never one of my favorite characters, but
Sorry.
it was a good movie either way. He had his own spin on the Hulk. I kind of prefer Mark Ruffalo now, but he was good in itself. I have a couple of things about the movie that I'm like, I don't understand. But
This one being that Ed Norton was more involved in the script, and which created issues behind the scenes. You can definitely tell watching this movie again that this was more heavy on the drama side, as Ed Norton is a very dramatic actor. Liv Tyler. William Hurt was over the top, but especially if you follow the interviews, he was trying to portray his character that way based on the comics, so I didn't have an issue with it, or with him per se. Ed Norton he was okay, but again, it was yet the umpteenth version of the lonely man being on the run, trying to hide. So yeah, I wasn't as in love with Ed Norton as the Hulk.
he was a little, like you said, dramatic and serious, whereas Ruffalo, he kind of adds a humor, kind of a softer charm about him. I don't know.
What'd you think of the Hulk himself?
As far as how the Hulk looked,
Just in general.
And Ed Norton, well, the one we're talking about, it looks terrible to me.
We're just focused on this one.
I am.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to.
Well,
get
no.
ahead.
Okay, so, but even though you know what comes out a few years later, you're glad that they revisited the look.
Yes. This one, to me, just the Hulk looked nothing like Ed Norton. And we even watched the special features, and I guess they did do it as a face capture of him, but it didn't, to me, look like that at all. He looked nothing like him. His hair was long, but then Ed Norton's hair was short. And it was bizarre, but I don't know.
This was another computer generated Hulk, which again we'll go more into Avengers later when we get to it, but we were glad, both of us were glad when Ruffalo took over and he actually did the motion capture himself. Definitely improved the Hulk. But for this one, it was computer generated, which kind of, I mean, at the time that's all that was, computer generated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, yeah, the Hulk, or the 2003 version, they say looked like a plumped up version of Shrek. This one,
sorry,
dogs are really excited for this podcast. Yeah, I wasn't. When the Hulk first showed in the factory, he was scary looking, but
he was in the dark.
He was in the dark,
you didn't
and
really see him until a little later.
Kind of have to wonder, especially being a Marvel movie, how that affected little kids. If you're trying to get them to like the Hulk and buy the Hulk merchandise and all that stuff, so I think they went a little too intense with the look of Norton's Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I think so too.
On the flip side, what'd you think of the Abomination?
Very scary. And if he had the same kind of, what was it called? Gamma radiation. He came out looking really different than the Hulk. The Hulk looks, at least, I mean, human-ish, but what is this? Abomination? Looked like an alien, had like the things going down his back, and just terrifying.
So they said now the Abomination look was different than in the comic books, and one of the tie-ins to the Marvel Universe was, and again, we haven't seen Captain America or anything, but they tied it in with Captain America with the reference to the super soldier serum earlier whenever the general was trying to get Blonsky on board and soup him up. That was the first reference to the Captain America super soldier. So, and then later when the AKA the leader, which is what he would have been referred to if they would have carried on with the Hulk movies, they basically said whenever he was going to infect the Abomination with more of Hulk's blood, he could end up in his Abomination. So they kind of kept referencing it that he wouldn't turn out like the Hulk. And yeah, he turned into a very beastly character. But I was still a fan of the final fight with the Hulk and Abomination through Harlem.
Yeah.
It was fun to see the Hulk being able to face off against somebody its own size and power, especially with the Hulk smash line. Smash! That was a cool little Easter egg, and but even in the park with the Hulk, and Blonsky was first infected or given the serum, and he faced off. It was still a cool fight, but at the same time, you're like, really? But again, it was all building up to the big climactic battle, ready for round 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Abomination again, especially with the toy line. I think they may have gone a little too scary with the look of the characters. I don't remember how the toy line did back in then, but yeah. What about, did you like Liv Tyler and Ed Norton?
I did like Liv Tyler. I kind of wish they would have brought her back since, but I did like her a lot. I think she kind of was, I don't want to say overacting, but she just kind of had this worried, concerned face the entire movie.
Well, wouldn't you be worried if your boyfriend could potentially Hulk out at
any
time?
I guess, but she just always had this concerned look on her face the entire time. But she was good. A little bit of overacting, maybe. But yeah, I thought they had good chemistry together. And
Did you like William Hurt as the general that was after the Hulk as her father?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought the movie was pretty good with the casting. All the way up from the scientist that would end up as the leader if they carried on with it.
Mr. Blue.
Mr. Blue. Mr. Green. I like how they played the Lonely Man thing in honor of Bill Bixby early in the movie with the TV show reference and then playing the Hulk music. There's a lot, and then even with the opening credit scene was a direct homage to the TV show, with the same machine that turned Bill Bixby into the Hulk did the same thing with Ed Norton. So yeah, there was a lot of homages, a lot of Easter eggs for the Marvel Universe when at the time they didn't know where they were going yet. But, which I'll just go ahead and get into it. After the big climactic fight, and based on the success of what happened with Iron Man, even though Marvel had already experimented with one of the greatest after credit scenes with the Nick Fury and Iron Man, the scene we're about to talk about really is treated like an after credit scene, but it wasn't an after credit scene because it happened right at the end of it. But it's whenever the general was in the bar, drowning in his sorrows over the big disaster of Abomination and Harlem and all that stuff, and in walks Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Which was the second appearance of Downey Jr. as Stark, and the throwaway line, "Nice suit. Here you've got a problem." The whole scene was clearly between the end of Iron Man and this one, referencing that they were planning on building towards an Avengers.
Yeah. And
the way the scene kind of played out, especially with the final Ed Norton part where he smiled, so it looked like, okay, so is he doing that? Is he going to be evil? Can he control him now? And then you got Stark talking to the general, and who's the team that's going to be putting them together? Because at the end of Iron Man, you had Rhodey say, "Next time, baby." And so at the end of The Incredible Hulk, I have to wonder how different the Marvel Universe would have been if The Incredible Hulk was a bigger hit and if Ed Norton and the Hulk himself took on with audiences.
You mean like Ed Norton would have stayed in the role?
If Marvel would have kept him in the role, and if the box office would have been Iron Man-esque. Because after this one, there was a 2-year gap. The Incredible Hulk was not a hit, and Marvel had to figure out where they were going to go from here. Now, one of the deleted scenes on The Incredible Hulk did feature at the beginning, there was an alternate beginning shot of the Incredible Hulk out in the frozen tundra, which if you're a Captain America fan, you know that that's where Captain America comes from, especially with the Incredible Hulk. So that could have been a game changer too if they went with that scene. There was a whole lot of, this could have gone off on a different path from the Marvel Universe that we know and love.
Ways it could have gone.
So, but with the end of it, and thinking back, that 2-year gap without a Marvel, 2 years. Now you get like 2 or 3 Marvel movies. At the time, you didn't get jack for 2 years. But at the same time, I enjoyed The Incredible Hulk. Is it my favorite of all the Marvel movies? No. But as a Hulk fan, I still enjoy it. I still watch. I'll still watch it. But I don't love it like the Ruffalo Hulk. I really wish they would do an Incredible Hulk sequel and put Ruffalo in it, and even because the Incredible Hulk for a long time was like untouchable. Like, it wasn't referenced, even though in the Avengers Ruffalo did drop the hint as Banner saying he messed up Harlem. As you said, they didn't bring back Betty Ross. It wasn't until years later with Civil War that we finally get a character from this movie, and that was the General. But that was almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it could have. I don't know. I don't know that I could see Ed Norton continuing. Like, if he was in Avengers, that would have been
different chemistry.
It would have been, a very different chemistry with the other characters. But also, Liv Tyler. Like, in this movie, he was so in love with her and just constantly thinking about her and blah, 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 blah. And then after the fact, it's like she never comes up again. Okay, you just easily just forgot about her and moved on to Black Widow.
You gotta wonder if the directors and Joss Whedon, when he did Avengers, they just try to distance themselves because the Incredible Hulk was not as big of a hit compared to the movies later.
So it's like they want to acknowledge that was the story, but they didn't.
Right.
Did, but they didn't.
So, but again, yeah, it would have been nice because I think Ruffalo and Liv Tyler would have hit it off. And who knows what the future holds, but...
Or even just a reference, especially since she was the daughter of... The General.
Yeah.
Even just a reference would have been fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked in this movie how they did the Easter egg, the homage to the purple shorts.
Yeah.
I really liked that. Where he tried them on and was like, what is this? What?
Right.
She's like, they're stretchy.
It's like new.
The thing, whenever he cut himself in the warehouse and the blood fell down into the bottle, which is how it got out to
Led
Stan
to the Stanley
Lee.
cameo.
Yeah. I mean, it shows just a drop of blood that's falling, and then he runs down like, oh, stop everything, blah, blah, blah. He runs down, wipes it up. But then there's like a whole bunch more blood that went in a bottle further down. How did that happen? Because it didn't seem like that much blood. And next thing you know, it was like a ton of it. And in 2 separate spots.
When you have Hulk-sized blood, it's going to splatter.
But yes,
that was a big splatter. That was a clear, what in the world moment. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
What other questions or issues you got with this
one?
And
they clearly were not inspecting those bottles enough.
Why?
Did not see the blood running down the bottle.
Stuff happens.
I guess.
You have any questions or issues that I can help you with from a Hulk-related fan? Anything from this movie? Final thoughts, if you will, about the Incredible Hulk?
I think I already got it out there.
Okay. So I've already said that this isn't my favorite, but would you rank this on the high end or the low end of your favorite of the Marvel movies?
Definitely low end.
Definitely low end. So.
Nothing is as low as Iron Man 3, though.
I don't agree, and we'll definitely get into that.
And again, that is a different episode.
We'll get into that one. I am shocked by that statement. I don't consider this above Iron Man 3. But that excites me to get to that. So, again, I love the Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is definitely, again, lower end. This led to a 2-year gap, but I'm glad that Marvel stayed committed to it and didn't give up on it because, as we'll talk about in the next episode, 2 years later, we'll start the chain reaction that leads to the Avengers, and that all starts with Iron Man 2, which we'll talk about in the next podcast, that some say is basically like an Avengers 0.5.
Iron Man 2?
Mm-hmm. Because of all the Avenger push in that movie to try and build up.
Okay.
So that's just, again, we'll explore, thread all of that stuff later. As we talk more about the Hulk and Iron Man and Thor and Cap leading to Avengers. So, with that said, that was the Incredible Hulk. We appreciate you checking in to see what we had to talk about. And until next time, I am Mark.
I'm Fallon.
And we'll talk to y'all soon. Stay frosty.